Oh, I'm missing some of those people.
Yeah, I only see Tracy and I don't know who's on the call.
Oh, maybe I'm reading from. Oh, hold on. I think I'm. Oh, thank you. Okay, I guess I was reading from the invited list and not the in the meeting list.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we only have two voting members
Dr.
right
Scott,
now.
Dr. Scott on the phone.
John is on.
That's Mr.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan.
So
seems like we just did this, Alan.
All right. Well, yeah. So right now we don't have a quorum yet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me text our friends.
Does that mean we need more people? Does that mean we need more people?
Okay. Well, that went out.
They don't have majority voting about.
So we'll see. So we got John, me. Okay. Tracy, Michelle, Anthony. Okay, perfect.
The GMS group. I have 3 in there. Oh. Because Archie Valley 4 of them when he took the.
Melvin, were you? So I saw your comment. So you saw my hat. So were you able to watch the whole video?
I had not had an opportunity to watch the whole video yet, but I will.
Oh, maybe that was Michelle that said that. Sorry.
That's okay.
That was Michelle. I'm just messing up everything today. Yeah, so for those who are on, I made just a short little, to kind of wrap up Teacher Appreciation Week, I made a short little video to show appreciation to all of our staff.
Yeah, very good.
Here comes Dr. Cocoon. There we go. All right. I think I see Dr. Cocoon. So I'm going to go ahead and get started then at this point, because I think we do have a quorum. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So at this time, we call the special call May 9th, 2025 Board of Trustee meetings, Governor Moorhead, to order. At this time, we will have roll call, and I'll do the roll call this time. Michelle will back me up with the written piece. Dr. Alan Chase.
Present.
Dr. Sean Tacoon.
Present.
Ms. Tracy Wilkerson.
Talking about in my
present.
Ms. Tiana Sims Beechler. Dr. Ricky Scott. Mr. John DeLuca.
Present.
Mr. J. Locke Milholland.
Yeah.
Present.
This isn't a scheduled one. This is one for this week.
All right. So that is the roll call. At this time, if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time we'll turn it over to Dr. Chase.
All right. Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Diggs. We appreciate that. Thank you to everyone for joining. So you should have received an email from Ms. Cross with a folder with materials for today's meeting. So the first agenda item is the approval of the minutes from our April 9th board meeting. Is there anyone who did not receive a copy of those minutes or are there any questions?
I wasn't able to open
Okay.
the folder, but that's something to do with my password, and I've requested that be fixed. So
Okay. So hearing no other comments, is there a member of the board who would be willing to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I move to accept the minutes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstain?
I have to abstain.
All right, gotcha, saw it. All right, the motion carries. All right, next up, Mr. Diggs, I will pass the torch to you regarding a request from the Department of Health and Human Services regarding reimbursement and some budget discussion. You're on mute, Melvin.
There we go. Got it this time.
There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Chase, and thank you, board members, for the opportunity to present this information to you. You should have been forwarded a electronic file of information that includes an invoice and a breakdown of some of those expenditures that are being referred to in the invoice, as well as a couple of email correspondences regarding some of those charges and some other additional items. And also you should have received an email with certifications from the Department of Public Instruction and from the Department of Public Health regarding the transfer of maintenance positions and the potential for looking at salaries that need to be reimbursed. With that being said, I will start off with the invoice that was received on April 24th from the Department of Health and Human Services. And so they are requesting reimbursement of $887,779.14 through the months of July 1, 2024 through February 28th, 2025. And so upon receiving that information on the 24th, want to bring this to you all's attention because it is a large sum and be able to have discussion regarding that invoice. So the purpose of sending you the information about the email correspondences was to give some context about the thoughts that the Department of Health and Human Services had regarding those charges, and to give you a breakdown from what they have been they gave us at that time. What I would say, thinking about those charges, are one, with the exception of a couple of small utility bills, we've not received any actual billing information from them. So the information that has been shared with you in these spreadsheets come from them and them alone. And we've requested multiple times to have that billing information. However, what I would say is, as far as the salaries that they are potentially requesting for reimbursement, they have given us that information. We have reconciled that information with the Department of Public Instruction's information, and it looks fairly accurate from what I've been able to see so far. What I would also say is that we have worked really hard, as you know, for the past at least 9 to 12 months to try to get this information way before now. But unfortunately, we just received this invoice again on April the 24th. So with that information out to the board. I'll open it up for questions regarding the invoice, questions about any other the documentation that you've received to this point. And Dean, if there's some additional context you'd like to provide, please do so.
Yeah, I would, Mr. Diggs. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If you don't mind, if I may just add on something there. The only thing I would add is, so they have also, DHHS being they, has sent a draft MOU to us to review. It basically just says we pay this amount, and that is going to count for July 1, 2024 until the end of February of 2025, and then because that's when the employees were switched over, and then for March, April, and then until we sign the MOU for whatever maintenance that they have continued to work on our campus, they would bill us a certain amount for operational maintenance cost, based on our percentage of square feet that we take up in the entire DHHS campus, meaning GMS plus the Dorothea Dix campus. And so that's roughly 16%. We don't really feel like that's an accurate reflection of the operational costs. And so we're going to get back with them. But I did want to give you a heads up, like the $800,000 invoice is not necessarily all of it, just the rest of it's sort of unknown for a reason, although March and April, it should be known to them. And that's what we're going to go back to them and say, we need to know this. And although I think the personnel costs have been verified, I mean, we have asked for verification for the other items, and we have never gotten it until recently. And I think Mr. Diggs is still trying to go through all that, request other information, and I believe had a meeting with them scheduled yesterday, and they ended up canceling. I don't think we know why they canceled, Mr. Diggs, but I don't remember you telling me, but if you do know, please correct me. But so that's just kind of where we are, but we thought it was important to have the board authorize any payment to DHHS, because you're talking about a lot of money. And we do have these funds. These are the funds that were originally transferred to us from DHHS by the General Assembly. So we got those funds at the end or the beginning of this fiscal year. And although we kind of pestered DHHS to, hey, let's transfer all this stuff over, they did continue. We didn't get it done quick enough, and so now they're seeking reimbursement. So they paid all those employees that were technically our employees, and we had the money for, but they were paying those employees for the first part of this year up until February, and so that's why they're seeking that money back. And I understand that we probably do need to pay them an amount. We just need to make sure that we feel comfortable with the amount that we do pay them.
Is there an amount?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there an amount that we have established that we, at least that amount we do feel comfortable with?
Mr. DeLuca, again, as I said earlier, I feel fairly comfortable just looking at a reconciliation between what DHHS has sent our way and what the Department of Public Instruction showed from our budgetary standpoint, which was shared in the packet. So I feel comfortable. I feel like the salary and fringes are reasonable because we have some verification there. We don't have as close a verification on the other part that is notated in the invoice to be GMS allocated share of maintenance costs. And again, that's because we don't have any direct billing information. But I can give you that kind of information and say I feel that is reasonable based on what's been shared.
So when I've dealt with state contracts before, the state requires a certain amount of documentation supporting the payment before they're even able to make the payment. I don't know if that's true, if it's going to be one agency paying to another agency under these circumstances, but it seems like there should be something other than just a bottom line, this amount.
And I think we agree. And I think Mr. Diggs has been requesting even before.
Multiple times.
Yeah. And that's kind of the frustration here. And they did, and you will notice, I mean, if you go through all the spreadsheets that were in the file, you will see support, but you don't, it's still just a number in a spreadsheet. It's not what was the utility bill for the entire campus, and let's divide that by our pro rata square footage amount. And then how do you get to some of those numbers? And then what is included in the operational expenses? Like, for instance, Mr. Diggs has brought up a really good point, is safety and security brought up in those expenses? Because they do not provide safety or security on our campus. Mr. Diggs provides that, or the school provides its own safety and security. Mm-hmm. And so it's just it's just trying to come to an agreement on what that number really represents. My thought would be, and certainly I'm open to other suggestions, but from a legal standpoint, I would authorize Mr. Diggs to pay the personnel amount, which is the 300 and some odd thousand, and then authorize Mr. Diggs to negotiate the operations amount to a number in which he and the chair feel comfortable with, and then be able to pay that amount. Because one of the sticking points here, and Mr. Diggs can probably explain this a little bit better, is we need to move quickly, because we've got to pay them the money, or the money will revert back to the state at some point in time, July 1. But I guess, there's also, everybody's doing their end of year, starting their end of year bookkeeping now. And mm-hmm. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. Then, of course, we are without a chief financial officer as well, which I'm sure does not help Mr. Diggs either. But again, that would be my suggestion, would be the board authorizes the payment for the personnel reimbursement, since Mr. Diggs feels comfortable with that number, and then authorizes Mr. Diggs to continue to review and negotiate the operations number to the extent that it needs to be negotiated, but allow him and the chair, I think, to have the final say on what that payment is, whether it's the full amount or something less than.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm fine with that. I also don't want to end up having to pay for the Dreamville Festival or Sunflower Festival.
Yeah.
Exactly. So. And thank you, Dean, because I was going to bring that up as a piece that we have been notified by the Department of Public Instruction that their business closeout process begins May the 16th. And so that was another reason why we wanted to have this meeting at this time. The other part of it is at a certain point in June, it's gonna be a situation where any monies that are left over are going to be reverted back to the state. And even though that closeout process does go through August, the actual verification and the actual authority to transfer those funds in short of that time. And so we wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that too. And my major point to that is this: to the best of our ability, we would, like to have the opportunity to engage in some additional conversation with the Department of Health and Human Services. But my other real issue is that if that money reverts back, then and we're still on the hook to pay for it, we will be significantly in the red to start off the next school year. And so that's a chief concern that I need to make you all aware of.
What exactly are we paying for?
Okay, thank you so much, Dean and Melvin, for the update and the guidance. Are there any other questions or concerns from members of the board regarding the invoice from DHHS and how that is interwoven with some of the other ongoing discussions we're having with them around MOAs and such? Okay, hearing none. Is there a member of the board who would be willing to make a motion as to what action, if any, the board should take on this matter.
I move to adopt Dean Shatley's proposal and pay the employment parts of the 800,000 plus bill and allow Mr. Diggs to speedily negotiate the rest.
All right, sounds good. So the motion is to adopt Dean's recommendation, which is to pay the personnel pieces of the invoice, and then for Mr. Diggs and I to negotiate with DHHS the remaining amount up to the invoiced amount. Is that correct, Locke? I want to make sure I stated that correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Is there a second?
Sean Takun, second.
Thank you, Sean. So there's a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. Very good. Thank you all for that. And Dean, thank you for your guidance there. All right, I guess, Mr. Diggs, back to you. There was for board members, again, going back to your packet, there is a draft letter in there from Mr. Diggs regarding Medicaid and some other legislative things. So, Mr. Diggs, I'll let you talk about that.
Thank you. Again, board members, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about this issue. Drafted a letter of support that would go to our congressional representative regarding Medicaid. As you all know, that there's been a lot of discussion in the last several months about what happens with Medicaid and the potential for there to be cuts. To let you know, the majority of letter is something that is supported by what's called the CCRESA, which is the Central Carolina Superintendents Association. And so they have sent out this letter as something for us to consider, to send to our congressional representatives to give the position of why we would support those funds not being cut and how it impacts schools. And so we wanted just the opportunity to have you all to review it. And if you would, I would ask that you would authorize me to be able to send it on the behalf of the school. And I would also add that please be reminded that it took us 22 months to get our Medicaid billing piece back in place. And so we fought hard for that, and we want to make sure the school continues to get as much as they can from be a benefit from that program. That's all.
Okay, very good. So question from me to Dean regarding this letter. Are there any legal concerns here or any concerns regarding lobbying or
no,
such?
I don't. No, sir, I do not think this would require anybody to register as a lobbyist.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think it's just kind of a normal in the course of business as well.
Okay. Very good. Are there any questions from other members of the board regarding the letter that Mr. Diggs has drafted and the advocacy work to make sure that the legislature is aware of what our needs are? All right, hearing none, is there a member of the board who is willing to make a motion to authorize Mr. Diggs to send his letter as drafted?
This is Sean Takun. I make a motion to authorize Mr. Diggs to send the letter as drafted. Thank you for the language.
Thank you, Sean.
Lock Milholland. Was Lock, I second.
All right, excellent. We have a motion and a second to for Mr. Diggs to send the letter that he drafted as presented. Is there additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. So, Mr. Diggs, you are good to go.
All right. Again, I
All right.
thank the board. Yep.
Of course. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Any final comments, concerns, questions from anyone?
Is it John?
Just in clarity, just to be sure that I'm about the payment of the invoice, is what is the board's pleasure or expectation about follow-up regarding payment and additional discussion or about the other side that may need to be negotiated?
I can say just from having reviewed the items, it just, and kind of echoing what was shared earlier, more itemization. Like, it's hard to argue with something that isn't well documented or even be clear about what's there. At least that was my sense when I originally reviewed a lot of the information, is either it's like a fire hose with no narrative or explanation, or it's just a one-line bill. And it's sort of like, that's hard to dig through, is my sentiment.
Agree with that.
That's all I have.
Tracy, from your accounting background, do you have any recommendations as to things we should ask for or look at?
Well, I wish I understood governmental accounting better, because it's just like bizarre to me, because coming from the private sector where everything is detailed, you can run a report on everything on an account and see every entry. So I don't understand if governmental accounting isn't the same. So it's very bizarre to me that asking for detail seems to be so hard.
It should be the same.
I would agree.
Yeah, and I'm sure it is. It is. I'm sure they have all the stuff. They just don't want to provide it.
Okay, we're good. Okay, enjoy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just like flabbergasted over the whole thing.
What?
Surely there's a way to request a report to go on this account that's being charged. Why can't we get a detailed report? Obviously, they can black out data. They don't want us to see names of who's making what or whatever. But that's all doable through an accounting software program. It's just to eliminate that column,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for your insight.
And I would say certainly to Attorney Milholland's point, again, maybe including that verbiage and policy might prompt some additional movement.
Mm-hmm. All right, good discussion. Well, thank you all. Thank you all again for being here for this special meeting. As Mr. Diggs mentioned, it was time sensitive because of some of those moving parts with the funding and the making sure we're paying our bills. We're at the end of the agenda. Hearing no other discussion, is there a member of the board who is willing to make a motion that we adjourn?
I do have one question real quick. Sorry. I thought of.
Sure, go ahead.
Is there a way, like, obviously it could be a delay tactic on their end not to supply information. So, like, is there a way to press for information? I mean, obviously you don't want to open your checkbook if you don't feel good about it. So is there a way to gently request more information, even if they delay or whatever?
So I would just say from my standpoint, we've attempted multiple times gently and a little more pointedly as we've gotten down the road with them to get more specific information about billing and some other things. And until this meeting on April the 24th, we had the only two other bills that we have received that are in our names now, because they are not necessarily probably on their normal cyclical payment schedule, is a propane bill and a GFL waste bill. That's it. And we've been requesting this for at least 8 to 10 months. So
I see.
And those came to us unprompted. So,
right.
So I certainly will work on and maybe draft an additional email and work with Alan and Dean to try to prompt some more specific information.
Okay. And is there anybody like an alliance, like somebody that could help us? I don't know if there's an ally somewhere to help with that information.
Mr. Diggs, I was actually thinking about that earlier too, Miss Wilkinson's point here, and I was wondering if the Department of Administration might be able to lend us a hand. I don't know. Probably take them so long to get their hands in it. It might not be worth it, but.
Well, again, three things I think about. So we definitely have a definitive cutoff time. One, with making a decision. The second thing is the Department of Administration is well into helping us on the other end with the transition pieces. Short of intervention from legislators, I'm not sure what else to do, and we certainly have reached out to them to try to get support in making things happen, and they've been responsive, but again, we have not gotten the information that we had hoped to seek in the process.
Well, Mr. Diggs, I have a question for you. You said, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that the worst of two worlds would be to end up on having the monies where this amount could be paid revert, and still being on the hook for some amount that would put us in a difficult position beginning the next year. We obviously have an opinion, and DHHS has an opinion. Who would have the final opinion, I guess, who would say you have to pay this money?
Yeah, so I would probably lean on Dean a little bit for that question. To answer that, I would just say that from my standpoint, we know that there's a specific cutoff time where bills can be paid, or where bills could be paid within that fiscal year. And so again, my concern is that the best negotiators, and I'm certainly not the best, but I can do some things sometimes. The best negotiators, once the fiscal year ends and we go into another one, and whatever a number might be, whether it's $3, $3,000, or $300,000, or $3 million, whoever comes down and makes that determination, we'd still be on the hook for it, and we'd have to find some way to pay for that within that next fiscal year. And I really don't want us to be in a situation where we start the next school year off in the red already, and we already know that we have other transitional things going on that we may have to pay for that are unexpected. And that is a huge concern.
And the only thing go ahead.
Go ahead, Dean.
I was gonna say the only other thing I would add to that is, there really is the question of what we owe. Do we owe it? I mean, I think we owe it because we believe we owe it, or we believe we owe some sort of money. I mean, we got the money from them before we got the positions, and they were continuing to do maintenance. So I feel, one, we do have an ethical obligation to pay something. Now, whether or not we have a legal obligation, that might be questionable. I mean, if the money goes away because of the just normal budgetary process, I don't know. I think it would really take an act of the General Assembly to give us that money back to pay them, or just for the General Assembly to give it to them. But that's who would ultimately have the final say. I've never seen one state agency sue another state agency. Not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't think. Well, it probably couldn't happen, and Mr. Milholland may know more about that than I do. But I think certainly we believe we owe them something, because I mean we've gotten the benefit of the bargain for most of this year, and we had the money, and they didn't. So they've kind of fronted the cash flow, so to speak. But from a legal perspective, I don't really know if there's any, outside of the personnel, any leg for them really to stand on, unless they got the General Assembly involved.
Well, it seems like one thing that we could do is, if we get to the date and the last date by which we could prevent the money from reverting, we could just say, okay, we'll pay this amount. I mean, that would keep you from being in the hole next year. The other thing that I guess we could do is, if we got close to that point, we could say, this is what we'll pay, and this is it. Without more of the documentation and support that you want.
Agree. I do want to, again, remind the board about something else, too. This is not the final bill. And so if we make some decisions to push against a final piece to the very last minute, that's going to make it difficult for us to forecast what monies we have and what we don't. I feel pretty comfortable about, where we are budgetary wise at the time. But I would just say, keep in mind that there are probably a few more bills coming our way before the end of the year that are going to have to be paid out of the current budget. And again, I just don't want us to be in a situation where we start off the year trying to figure out how to pay for stuff, because we're going to be, whether it's negotiated later or sooner or whatever. That is not a place where we want to sit. I would want the benefit of the school and staff and other folks to know that we're starting off at a good clip.
I guess you don't really have a sense of when the additional bills might come in.
I don't have a good sense of that, but I can tell you that they have indicated, and certainly in the emails that I've shared with the board, they've indicated that they're coming.
Well, I just want to say I applaud the efforts in the direction. It's an interesting situation for us to be in that we're being awarded budget and awarded positions. It appears as if the budget awarded to us from what's being carved out and the maintenance and everything may not have been adequate. We all knew that going in, right? We all thought we should have more for these sorts of things. And so I think reaching out to the legislature is the right answer, because the proof's in the pudding now, right? We said it before, we're here now, and look, what we said was going to happen is sitting on our doorstep because of, you didn't know you were carving up. So Godspeed. Won't say good luck. I won't say break a leg either, because I don't know. It's getting rough up at the politics side of things.
All right, great discussion. Any other comments, suggestions? See, this is one of the great things about having a board with such people with diverse backgrounds. We all bring a little piece to the pie.
I assume that at our regularly scheduled board meeting, we'll have an update on anything that's happened in the next week and a half or so on this issue.
Yes, the superintendent's updates for the next board meeting will be significantly larger. And we'll probably pull in some additional reports from a couple of other people that don't necessarily frequent the meeting as often, to bring us to a understanding about capital projects and some other things, and where some things sit. So yes.
All right, great. So once again, if there's any additional discussion, great. Please come, make it known. Otherwise, if someone is willing to make a motion to adjourn, I'll entertain that.
Sean Coon, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Tracy, I'll second.
All right,
I'll
thank
second.
you, Sean and Tracy. Got you, Tracy. There's a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion on that motion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the motion carries. This meeting of this special meeting of the Board of Trustees is adjourned. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Have a good
You're
day.
welcome.
Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone. See you.